2122. Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2122 modifies the threshold limit for allowing quarterly payments of annual registration fees for certain truck and truck tractors owners. It also removes a 2-quarter grace period for any delinquent quarterly payments. Existing law grants a truck or truck tractor owner the ability to pay an annual registration fees on a quarterly basis if the registration fee would exceed $100. Under the bill, this would be increased, the threshold will be increased to $300. Also, under current law, quarterly registration payments are not considered delinquent until an owner fails to make any 2 quarterly payments during any registration year, which essentially equates to a 2-quarter grace period. Under this bill, this would strike the language with the effect that the quarterly payments would be considered delinquent 10 days after a quarterly payment is due. And as a consequence, if such payments not be made, these would include requirement payment of full of the annual registration fees with a penalty of 10%, denial of quarterly payment privilege, denial of title or renewal of title on the vehicle until fees are paid, and possible lien and tax warrants and seizure of the vehicle. Essentially current existing penalties, but would apply downstream of that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Committee questions? Seeing none, Adam? First proponent, Deanna Shepherd. Welcome back.
Thank you, Chairman Peterson and committee, for having me and for allowing me to be here to provide testimony. This is a bill that the Division of Vehicles requested to make the quarterly payment program consistent between the commercial and the apportioned registrations by updating statutes 8-143A and 8-143M. In 2014, when statute 8-143M was created by the 2014 legislature, it was passed into law. It placed all commercial vehicles, regardless if they were intrastate or interstate, on the same level of taxation by using the commercial vehicle fee in lieu of property taxes. In that process, the new law set the quarterly payment minimum at $300 for apportioned vehicles, but left it at $100 for commercial vehicles. Our legislation would make them the same at $300 minimum registration fee to request the quarterly pay and otherwise mirrors the statutes so that they are consistent throughout for when applying late fees and/or penalties for later payments. We believe this bill would allow both intrastate and interstate registration to be handled the same. Would also be an area where we could reduce the confusion for constituents and counties that do registrations for both apportioned and commercial registrations by making the rules consistent across both requirements. And thank you, Chairman and committee, and I can stand for questions.
Committee questions? Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it's nice that you're allowing a little leeway on the penalties, but why such a big fee increase?
The penalties are not changing. They've been that way since the original 8-143A went in.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman, you're increasing the fee from $100 to $300, and then it appears that you're giving some leeway for late.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah. So the reason we're bringing it up is because the minimum commercial payment is $150. So we're just trying, most registration fees, by the time you get the $150 and they pay the other fees for commercial, it's going to be over $300 already.
I have a question. We're not raising the fee, we're just raising the threshold for them to request quarterly payments?
Correct.
Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just want to make sure that we're not, these guys are in a world of hurt right now as it is, and you know that. And so I just want to make sure that this isn't putting a larger burden on them.
The fees, excuse me, the fees are through the commercial side are already 300, and that's what they've been used to. It's when they go in to do the commercial on the county registration side that it's only at 100. And all we're trying to do is mirror that across the board because it's becoming confusing for constituents. We have very few people that still register that way on the county side. We have very few. Almost everyone goes through the commercial side now.
Thank you. Committee, further questions? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further proponents? Any opponents? Any neutrals? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on 2122. We'll now open the hearing on 2289. Adam, can you give us a briefing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2289 is also a Department of Revenue requested bill that would modify the provisions related to the issuance and the production of license plates. Under section of the bill, personalized plates are currently, the provision requires issuance of 2 such license plates. The bill would limit this to 1 plate to make it essentially conform with the other plates for individuals. The section also removes the provision allowing the person to display a second personalized license plate on the front of such person's vehicle. Additional provision in Section 1 removes the requirement that application for the plate be made 60 days prior to the renewal of registration and makes it so that the application would be made on the renewal of registration date. Under Section 2 of the bill, this would remove a provision requiring license plate decals that are affixed to license plates to contain the letters designating the county in which such vehicle is designated. As you may recall, a new section was passed last year, I believe, that would still require county registrations to be printed on license plates or designated by an affixed decal to a license plate if such plate was not approved or issuance by July 1 of 2024. So that statutory section remains. Section 3 removes a similar provision for decals to identify the county of registration. Section 3 inserts language that a license plate decal shall identify expiration information consistent as law. And then also another provision is kind of cleanup, specifies that the quantity of license plate and decals to be furnished to each county. It's kind of a antiquated provision since we don't generally provide, these plates get shipped out directly to consumers, I believe is the reason for that. Finally, the bill inserts language providing that a license plate shall be shipped directly to customers who are supposed to be issued such license plates for digitally fulfilled license plate orders. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions? Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Adam. We keep going back and forth on these decals and the counties and just, is it in or out? Would it still be exactly that simple?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. To be honest with you, I'm going to defer to revenue on this one. I wasn't with the bill drafting to know why they check out that language. The statutory section that I referred to still exists, so I'm assuming that still controls, but they struck the language that had existed for certain plates. So I'm not sure if they're defaulting to the statutory section to control all plates, because currently the language in the bill that gets struck related to counties only applies to the standard plate. So that's probably a better question to them to determine how they're interpreting it.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Adam? Seeing none, thank you. First proponent, Zach Denny. Welcome back to the committee.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Zach Denny, Kansas Department of Revenue. Yeah, so this is a bill that we did introduce, and we do consider it a cleanup bill. It's just sort of updating statute to reflect more efficient policies since license plates began to be digitally printed. And I brought some props here to maybe help illustrate kind of what we're changing, so I will. So you'll see on that, the decal, the color decal contains the license plate number. Previously, I think the statutory language had the county designation on that. Now, as you can see on this license plate, the county decal is digitally printed on there, so that is no longer required. That's why we're removing that. And Adam was correct. We are just defaulting to that statute for all new license plates that are printed have to have this county decal digitally printed on it. So that will be the case for all new license plates coming out, including the personalized license plate, which is what this is being changed for. And then some of the other smaller provisions, the 60-day requirement also no longer required since license plates are digitally produced. That lead time is no longer necessary. And then the 2 personalized plates. So I just want to make sure it's clear that this is the 2 personalized plates for one vehicle. A customer can get as many personalized plates for as many vehicles as they want. The division has not issued 2 personalized license plates for a single vehicle in like 20 years. And when they did it for about 8 months because there were some issues where a customer would put that second personalized license plate on a separate vehicle illegally, which created a lot of problems for law enforcement. So we just want to make sure that's clear that that's no longer allowed. Let's see. Yeah, I think I covered it all. Yeah, with that, I will be happy to stand for questions.
First question is just to be sure we're clear that the county designation is going to be printed on the license plates.
Yes, it was Senate Bill, I think 359 last session. It had like the Kansas City Chiefs license plate supporting Kansas City. That is still going to be required for every new plate going forward.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Committee questions. Senator Tyson.
Mr. Chairman, you are one of the best in the building.
I agree.
Committee for their questions. Seeing none. Is there any further proponents? Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Any neutrals? Any opponents? I should have put more bills on today. We'll close the hearing on 2289. Committee, be watching your emails. We may be having some minutes coming to you shortly. I'm finally catching up with that. Is there any further business to come before the committee? Seeing none, we are adjourned.